I always want to open one of these things up with a real radio voice. And I
Do you
remember
have to call it these things?
I do have to call it these things. So John and I literally just had the conversation. What are we going to start with? And that's something that we've never really said in that way.
As most
We're-
of you know, we have no clue what we're going to start with or
Right,
finish
well,
with, for that matter.
Exactly. Well, I would say 9 times out of 10, we have ideas of what we want to talk about, but really it's just to get us started because we rarely ever get to those things that we want to talk about.
That's true.
So I told John, we've got to change the way we start because and think of it in that. What are we going to start with? What's the topic we're going to start out with? Because that's where we kind of struggle the most. And as soon as we came up with an idea, and I had the idea, we're going to talk about my father-in-law because we just got back literally a few minutes ago. Well, long enough for us to, unpack the car and stuff. So it's probably more like an hour ago, but we just got back from visiting Craig.
Mm.
And so I wanted to start with that. And I will.
Friend of the show.
A friend of the show. He's been on the show. He's my father-in-law.
Yes.
And we, anyway, we are going to discuss Craig. Don't you worry. Well, we might. I don't know. Who knows?
We will.
But as soon as I hit record, I'm just thinking, wow, we do really need to start thinking about how we start these things. And I did. And the very first thing that popped in my bread was, hey, or my brain, not my bread. My
Did you say
bread.
your bread. The first
I
thing
did
that
say my
popped in
bread.
your bread.
Yeah, what is it? Sweetbreads? Isn't that what you call brains?
Wow.
That's maybe, I don't know. Anyway, the first thing I was
Sweetbreads.
thinking of is, oh, we should intro this like a radio show. And I'm like, no, because it's PoddiMouths. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, great to have you here today. Now your host, Nick Kubik.
Co-host, come on.
Whatever.
Take a little credit,
I
John.
call you your host.
You call me a lot of things. Host ain't one of them.
Well, that's true. Not out loud anyway.
Anyway.
So talk about Craig. Let's talk about him.
So we went
old
to,
buddy.
yeah, we were actually supposed to go there last weekend. And I don't remember, quite honestly, if we talked about this on the podcast, but we decided not to go last weekend for various reasons. Most of it is my fault because I had to travel on Monday.
Yes.
And we have decided to go ahead and refinance our house, but we have to get our house ready. So we had to do a bunch of renovations, like quick renovations, to be able to get the amount that we want, which I think we'll get. The mortgage company actually thinks we'll get it, but it's a little bit higher than some of the houses in our neighborhood. So comparable. But we have got a lot of houses in our neighborhood right now that are for sale and selling quick. Like all of them that were on sale, that were put on sale last week, well, 2 weeks ago, are all under contract right now.
Wow.
So I mean, that's slow for Nashville.
Sure.
So anyway, we're gonna we're going through that process. So we had a lot of projects to do because we're trying to get it done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one reason, and then the travel, as I said, was the second reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, you guys can go if you want to. And my wife didn't really want to do that. Jennifer didn't really want to do that. She wanted me to come with because I haven't been there for a long time either. So I said, listen, because I'm screwing it up this week, and I had a lot to do on Friday too. She wanted to leave on Friday, and I had a bunch of I had meetings back to back pretty much all day. So really, I can't do those in the car.
How
even
long
though the
a
new
drive
car
is
has
it?
Wi-Fi. It's about a 4.5 hour drive.
Okay. All right.
So I can't really do those in the car, even though, as I said, the new car has its own built-in Wi-Fi, which is great. That's another story for the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, listen, because this past Friday was Jen's birthday. I said, I will take Friday off because I know I don't have to travel the following week. And then we'll go and spend an extra day up there. And so that's how we went this weekend to this past weekend to visit Craig. But Craig was great. He has his pool. He finished working on someone else's pool, and he's got his pool open and working. And he was of good cheer. So was my mother-in-law, Mona. Everyone was of good cheer, and we had a really good, relaxing time. Spent most of it just kind of lounging around in the pool, as much as you can lounge around when you've got a 10-year-old who is an only child in the pool.
Well, you can lounge around with Peyton. I mean, is she a good swimmer?
Oh, she's a great swimmer. So what we did is we took a handful of pennies and we started tossing the pennies in the pool. And then she spent the entire time just picking up pennies from the bottom of the pool.
Did you make a wish every time you threw one in?
I wished for peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Wow. And more pennies.
And more pennies. Lots and lots of pennies.
Yes.
Lots and lots of pennies.
Oh, that's awesome. What a good idea.
Yeah. So what did you do today? Or this weekend, I should say.
Well, it has been kind of a busy running around weekend. We actually sang at my sister-in-law's church, and so that was interesting. It's a smaller church, so there were probably a total of, I don't know, 30 some people there. And then we had several singers and musicians. So we almost halved again the size of the church
Nice.
just by us being there. Yeah. If you want to make sure you have a really good a singing session, then you should bring people with you. So the band is, like 30 people, and we had horns. I'm just kidding. We didn't, but it was kind of fun. It was a nice time. But then we went to a coffee shop in this little town, 15 minutes from us, and I've been meaning to go there for a long time. It's a cute little shop, but there were probably 10 of us who came in, as I said, the band who came in, and it took them almost 40 minutes to get our orders. And a few people
Wow.
had food, but most of us just had coffee, and we waited forever to get anyway. So that worked out fine. Had a buddy during church, not that I check my text messages, but did text me
Nah,
during
never.
church, and I checked after.
Uh-huh.
And he said he was going to be coming up from Chicago area with a group of Harley enthusiasts. So we met him in a town about 45 minutes, an hour away from here, and had a really nice time. A really cool place in Janesville, which I did not expect, right along the Rock River. It was a nice neighborhood that had been revamped, and so and man, they had awesome burgers. So I'm still a little full, so surprisingly. So I probably won't eat dinner tonight. Liar. But anyway, it was great, and Lisa and I went and got to see Scott, who we hadn't seen for it's been years, probably 4 or 5 years, and all these guys who rode with him, and there were probably 8 other guys who were all riding Harleys, and
Nice.
anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time, hung out for a couple hours, and then rode back.
So
Beautiful day.
having driven up there on Friday and then come back today,
Mm.
I can tell you the traffic in Tennessee is horrendous
Oh,
right
was it
now.
really
How is
bad?
how is the traffic? And when I say horrendous, I'm not talking about just a lot of it,
Mhm.
because yes, there was a lot of traffic, but not as much as usual. And we've talked about this before. You and I spend a lot of time behind the wheel, but we do it
True.
during the week usually.
Mhm.
And the traffic seems a lot different during the week than it does on the weekends.
For
I
sure.
don't know how many times the front end of my car almost came off, both on the way there and on the way back, because the people are they're insane.
Sounds like
They
you're
are
tailgating.
absolutely insane. I'm not. No, because I have the
Ah,
smart. Yeah, so I'm
yes.
not tailgating. But of course, people are still they're cutting me off right and left. I mean,
Wow.
it really was. I would hate to be on a motorcycle. I only saw 2 motorcycles the whole
Mhm.
both ways,
Yeah.
and I would hate to be on a motorcycle right now
Yeah,
with the way people are driving.
yeah,
Assholes,
you're
all of them.
right, especially on interstates, and you were on the interstate most of the way, I would
Yeah.
guess, or at least a
Yep.
big chunk of it. We avoid that at all costs, just because the idea, at least for us on a Harley, is not to get somewhere quickly. It's
Right.
to get somewhere. It really is the journey, not the destination. So we were on a highway that's busier than a small back road, Highway 26, which runs north and south, and it is uh, 4 lanes, but it's really nice and well cared for and so on. And so we had no incidents, and it was pretty easy. But yeah, I'm with you. I won't ride on. I don't enjoy. I will occasionally, but I'm not a big interstate motorcycle rider because it's dangerous, and
It People are insane.
they just don't. It's like either they don't
It's
pay
like they've been
attention,
cooped up for 18 months and haven't gotten out.
and they're getting it all out right now,
Yeah.
all in one weekend. You're absolutely right. So yeah, you're right. It's something you got to be mindful of because I just, and I've talked to you about this before. I assume people are going to mess up, and
Oh
usually
yeah.
I'm right.
Oh yeah.
And so you have to just plan for that, and you just ride differently than if you, oh, I can trust they're not going to pull out in front of you. You have to assume they're going to, and
Yeah.
often they do. And you just, and then you run the risk with a motorcycle. You run the risk. Do I lay on the horn? And the answer is no, 98% of the time, because the first thing that people do when you hit the horn is hit the brakes. And
Yeah.
sometimes on a bike, what you need them to do is get the heck out of the way
Yeah.
because you have no place to go. So
Yeah.
I
I
hardly ever use the horn. I need air horns, is what I need to scare
right.
them.
Make it
So they
sound like a
poop their
semi.
pants, and then I just go around them as they're pooping their pants.
That's really smart. Now,
Thank you.
in general, I don't usually lay on the horn, even when someone pisses me off, because just for that exact reason. Well, two reasons. One, because the reaction they have is usually the wrong one, which
Correct.
causes even more trouble.
Yep.
And then two, if they're not, even if they don't cause the right problem, who's to say they don't have a gun in the car and they're going to start shooting because you pissed them off because you honked at them, even
It's
though
the
it was
road
their
rage
fault?
thing, yeah.
Oh,
And
I
you
mean,
know what?
and
That
it's bad here right now. It's very bad here right now.
it's bad everywhere right now, and
I
that's
think all the Californians moving here, realize now they can carry a gun.
wow. Yeah, and for the first time they have one. That's great.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
you want. Somebody who's a newbie
yeah.
carrying a
That's
gun and using it to threaten other people.
exactly. Did I tell you that that is now a game in the car, especially if we're driving from west to east towards Nashville?
Mhm.
But even going the other way is to count the number of California plates on the road.
Seriously.
It's
Is
turned
it
into a
that
game. Oh, it's that bad. It is that
wow.
bad. So I came from on a recent trip from Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is pretty much a direct shot east once
Mhm,
you get down to Little Rock. But even then, you're coming straight across,
mhm.
and it's a 7-hour drive from Fayetteville. And I counted 16 California license plates.
Wow.
Yeah,
That seems like a lot.
it's a
Because
lot.
California is not really close to Fayetteville.
No, no, well, but they come through it to get to
Sure.
Nashville.
Sure.
So in my neighborhood
Wow.
alone, I told you I have, so right now there are, and again, all of them with contracts right
Mhm,
now, but there are 4 houses in my neighborhood that are for sale.
mhm.
And there have been 3 others that have just recently sold.
Wow.
2 of those 3, the people that were parked in front all had California plates.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, that has to be pretty consistent, not just in your neighborhood, but throughout the Nashville
Yeah.
area. It's
So throughout Nashville,
yeah.
and also, I mean, it's not just Nashville.
No.
It's
No.
when I was in Dallas, I was seeing
Mhm,
California plates everywhere. I was
mhm,
there last week.
mm.
Houston is full of California
Yeah.
plates. I obviously I know those 2. Yeah, you'll see some, but Austin, I'm hearing from people that I know that live there,
Mhm.
that say it's just as bad as Nashville.
Wow.
And I mean, there are even stories about it
Mhm.
in national newspapers about how people are just fleeing
Hmm.
California.
Yeah.
And they're going to a lot of these different places. I mean, Texas, no, that's the other thing. What does Texas have? No state income
State
tax.
income tax. Yeah.
Same with Tennessee.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because it's due to COVID, and there are a lot of reasons, but COVID is one of the biggest ones.
Sure.
They're maintaining their salary from California
Hmm.
and moving here where it's cheaper to live.
Oh, sure.
So, which is good for us because that's one of the reasons we're refinancing.
Yeah.
But it's driving house prices so far up.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
that will come back around at some point in
Oh, it
some
will.
ugly way, sadly.
Yeah.
Not for you, but for people who have spent uh the money on, places,
Well,
because truly when you look at real estate, and it's the same in the Northeast. Look
yes.
at real estate in California and how crazy it is for those of us who live in the Midwest, and it just, it has nothing but a bad effect on real estate prices everywhere
Right.
because they move to these places and go, oh, what a bargain. My place was 1.5 million. I can buy this one for 750. And I can't believe I'm saying these numbers as if they're, oh, this is 750. That's nothing. But
Yeah.
that's what they think because they can
Yes, because 'cause they're
maybe
so
pay
used to the
cash
Yep,
or whatever for that house. And it completely
it's
changes the
absolutely
face of real estate wherever they move.
I think in the vast majority of places, they are gonna have a problem, as you
Mhm.
said. I do think that's good. However, when you're talking about Austin or you're talking about Nashville, and there are some other pockets, don't get me wrong. Those are the two that stick in my brain right now. A lot of the tech companies from California are moving to those places,
Sure.
especially, and that's why. So Austin and Nashville is where Amazon, for example, decided to build two different headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Oracle are building two different headquarters, one in Austin and one in Nashville. And they're dumping a bunch, I mean, billions of dollars into our riverfront here in Nashville. And the city, because of that, is going to redo all of the riverfront because right now it's useless. And they're even going to redo Nissan Stadium, which is the football stadium for those of you who don't watch football. They're going to redo that and make that a whole city center area.
Wow.
And I mean, all this growth in there. And so I don't think Austin and Nashville are going to hit a low anytime soon.
Sure.
I think we will get it,
is
but everywhere else is going to be affected first.
It's sort of a gentrification, though, because you what happens to property taxes then to everybody else? People,
ours,
oh, for sure, and ours are ours are bad enough in Wisconsin without having to throw sand on anybody else's because they are. It's just expensive, and it's social programs and blah 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 for whatever reason. But the truth is, somebody who's in a pick a number $200,000 house or in the surrounding Nashville area, they're going to get a residual impact on their property taxes.
Yes.
There's no doubt.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. We already took a major hike this year in our property taxes. It's been pretty epic. My part of town in Davidson County got the lowest tax hike out of the entire area, and ours still went up 28%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And yours was the lowest.
Ours was the lowest.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't that? Yeah. And so I do want to make it clear though, I'm not dogging California. I love California. I really do.
Too.
There are reasons I don't live there: cost, taxes, and politics. But I have something on my wall from a university in California. So
yes,
I'm a big fan of California. I just I just hope those people don't bring the politics and
and so you ask someone who's lived in Denver for 20 years what happened there. Ask someone who's lived in you can make an argument for the states to the north as well.
Oh, absolutely.
That there have been a change as people have moved from one area to the other. The reason they move is often political, or which translates to monetary.
Right.
And then they continue to vote.
They continue to vote the people in. Exactly.
That caused that stuff to happen. And there's got to be a fine line. At some point, somebody has to take responsibility for maybe this wasn't such a good idea, or maybe we should rethink this, or maybe we could take another. But I don't understand that. I don't, which explains why the country as a whole is so greatly in debt. And it's, we'll never see the other end of it. It's sad. I remember when, so here you go. If you think I'm strictly to the right, I think Bill Clinton was the last president when we balanced the budget. And at one time that was voted as a law that you had to balance the budget. Well, that lasted for 5 minutes. And
did you see it in the news? They still haven't, what was it? They haven't confirmed or raised the credit cap or something like that. So I don't know. I'm trying to stay away from politics as much as I can. It's hard to miss right now.
Well, it is. But if you think about if we ran our households the way that they run the country,
we'd be bankrupt.
We'd be in jail. Not just bankrupt, we'd be in jail.
No, we wouldn't, because the government doesn't go to jail.
No. Wow. Yeah.
No, we'd be
several
screwed.
Of them should. I'm quite confident of that.
Yeah.
But okay, that aside, I think there's certainly a shift that's happening, it seems like, from some of the cities to the middle of the country, what used to be known as flyover territory.
Right.
And that shift is happening. And it
is.
It's going to be an outside in and an inside out. I don't know. But our grandkids are going to have to deal with some of it. And it's, wow, it's just going to be something's
got to give,
I think so too. But
We
We'll see.
every few decades we have a reckoning.
It seems
And it's
like a cycle, and you're right.
Yep.
It's a reckoning. It's well said. I can't help but think about the movie Tombstone when you say that. There's going to be a reckoning.
There's going to be a reckoning. That's a good movie, by the way.
Yes, for sure. Well, cool. And speaking of motorcycles, as we were, I just got my renewal of my Harley HOG membership.
Nice.
You know what HOG
Very
stands
nice.
for?
Harley on Ground.
Close. Harley Owners Group.
Oh, okay.
And Ben, gosh,
It was my car business mind that was on ground. You know, Harley on ground. How many do they have on ground?
Vehicles on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, it was Harley Owners Group, and it's funny because they call the bikes hogs because they're huge, and mine included. But the Owners Group, you get a couple of cool things, a little pin that you stick on someplace, and of course I have a card.
Be careful where you stick that pin.
Well, and it's got little things.
Nice.
But I've got the card that means absolutely nothing. It's not a credit card. Hey, I'm checking into the hotel. I'd like to put it on my HOG card. They don't. You have to get the HOG. They do have a Harley credit card.
Wow.
And maybe a Harley Owners Group credit card. I'm not sure, but
interesting.
Yeah, so I'm sure I spend whatever on that every year. But once you remember, you want to support.
Kind of like your Flaviar membership.
It's like that, which I've canceled. I told you.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh, yeah, I did. It's just expensive.
It is expensive. Yeah.
And one of the interesting you bring that up because they have and the Flaviar FLAVIAR, what it is, it's like a membership thing where they send you samples, typically of whiskey, but they also have tequilas now and things like that. But they send them out, and then one in particular, Lisa loved, and our friend Carrie also was. I mean, so, wow, this is really good. So I said, well, let me get a bottle. So I went. They don't have it at Flaviar. I tried to search for it. No, they didn't have it available, or out of stock or something like that. So I searched for it. I found a wine store, liquor store in Washington, D.C. was the only one where I could find this particular scotch. And it cost me almost as much for the shipping as it did for the liquor. But they loved it and it was delicious. So I got 2 bottles and spent more than I should have. And I'm like, okay, well, this is nice. But if you can't get them, if you can't access that wonderful new thing that you tried, what's the point?
Yeah.
So anyway, no offense to Flaviar. I enjoyed it. It was a fun thing. And
now that things, and I'm doing air quotes for those of you just listening, one of the nice things about COVID lifting, going back into stores, because we have a great liquor store here, and they have right in the middle of the store this big desk, and that's where they usually do tastings, and they do them, pretty much every day. So you can go and sample certain things, and a lot of it, and it's right in the middle of their whiskey section. So it's they do usually have a lot of really good. So it's kind of fun because that's a little bit more interactive, and then you can go buy the bottle right there.
Sure.
As much as I'm an introvert when it comes to life in general, except for having a podcast, but then again, my podcast, I can sit in my office in my underwear and do the, I don't have to be.
Please don't tell us you're wearing your
underwear. Oh, tell you. I thought you were going to tell me to go put on pants.
We icky.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got to put on pants though, because Jen's studio, the 2021-22 season starts tomorrow. So
awesome.
We've got to go finish painting a wall.
Oh,
actually an entire studio. All 4 studios will be done though.
Yay.
Finally, after a year.
That's awesome.
And because I think she's going to post them on Instagram, but you'll see the new sign
on Instagram that I saw just, I think was the end of last week that you started.
Yeah.
Or maybe she
started the finishing because we had started
before
a year
picture.
ago. Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But the new sign is up on the,
awesome.
We don't have it up on the building yet, but it's up on the billboard.
Cool.
When you enter in. So that's really neat. It's kind of fun. And we have the marquee. So it's at the top.
Very nice.
And that looks really, really good. So yeah, it's a big week, and we still need enrollment. So if anyone
tell everyone, if you're around the Nashville area, what's the name of the studio?
Bellevue Performing Arts Center or Bellpack. You don't have to ding.
Ding.
It does sponsor this.
Sort of.
10% of it.
Yeah, it sponsors you.
It sponsors me 10%. And anyway, the website is bellpack.com, www.bellpack, BELLEPAC.com.
And that is your radio voice. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's my radio ad voice.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, she starts the season opens tomorrow. Now, we usually don't have that many people this first week, and she was actually talking about on the way home, she's thinking about next year moving it back a week or two, because traditionally they always start the first week of August, but in Nashville that's when a lot of people are off because next week is when school starts.
Oh, sure.
So there aren't going to be very many people that show up on the first day, unfortunately. So we think of changing that next year. But this is the big week, or the next 2 weeks are the big 2 weeks for enrollment, because no one does it ahead of time like they're supposed to.
Sure.
So we're hoping that we're going to get a few more enrolled. It would be very nice.
Awesome.
We got to pay rent, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
enroll.
Come on. Ante up, people. Well, that's awesome. That sounds really good. That's
not awesome that I have to go and do painting, but
to do painting.
Get to do painting. Yeah, that's it.
We're gonna
experiment. So here's a boo. Sorry, Mr. Microphone.
There's a boo.
There's a boo. Well, yeah, that's what I call my dog, Boo Boo. Anyway, so the puppies stayed here, and we had one of our neighbors come in and check on them.
Nice.
Well, we decided to experiment, and instead of sitting them in their kennel, because she wasn't going to stay over this weekend, which that sucks for the dogs. Usually she just stays in the house and dog sits, but she had other things she had to do. So she was just going to come let them out. So we felt bad about leaving them, and it was too hot to leave them outside. So felt bad about leaving them in their kennel the whole time, because that's what we do when we're gone, is we kennel the dogs. So we have this fence, the portable kennel fence that's really big, kind of a paddock area. I took that into the house and then made an area in our bonus room where they could be free around the kennel, so they wouldn't have to be in the kennel. Well, they got out. But the really good news is they didn't destroy anything.
That's awesome.
Which is huge for us, because we don't want to put them in the kennel, but every time we left them out, they would chew something up. So they had the whole weekend to run the entire house, and they ate one pencil, one of Peyton's pencils. Yep. That was it.
Wow. That's good.
So we're not going to kennel them anymore, but we're like, okay, well, we've been gone all weekend. So when I leave here today, I'm taking the dogs with me to the studio, which will be the first time they've ever gone to the studio. So we're going to see how they actually work around the studio. It'll be interesting to see, awesome. Because they normally, when they're in the car, they're horrible. Like you can't talk to the person next to you because they're crying and screaming and barking the whole time.
Wow.
So that'll also be interesting to see how well they do. But we want to get them acclimated to other things, because we want to be able to take them with us.
Yeah, of course.
That's one of the reasons we don't, is because they're just horrible dogs when they're out. Great when they're home.
Well, that's really good though when they're home. If they so we had a Weimaraner some years ago, and we had a sense we used to gate him in the kitchen, because it didn't have carpeting, and it was a galley kitchen, but it had a little dining area at the end, so it wasn't too tiny or confining. And we knew that he was somehow, I don't know, causing a ruckus or doing something. Something made us put a video camera on him while we were gone. So we did, and we were gone for an hour or something like that one particular time. And it was the days of the old actual video camera where we had the tripod set up and everything. And we couldn't wait to watch the video when we got back, because, he was in the kitchen waiting for us when we got back. And at some point in watching the video, we saw he jumped. This is a 3-foot gate anyway, if not 3.5, jumped over the gate and was walking around the house, and he heard us come back in, open the garage door. He jumped back over into the kitchen.
That's a smart dog.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure. He may have just knew that we were coming in, the door off the garage. So
I choose to think it's a smart dog.
Oh my
Let's
gosh.
just keep it at a
Well,
smart dog.
he was a pretty special dog, but he was big enough, 80 pounds, 70 pounds or so, and pretty tall as a Weimaraner that he could jump the gate without even thinking about it. And so it was
Yeah.
pretty funny to watch it.
See,
So
that's an elegant way to do it. I'm sure Clyde and I know it's Clyde because
yeah.
Bonnie, we have a voice for Bonnie and it fits her perfectly. It's like, what are you doing, guys? Come on. No, no. And she's like, this is bullshit. It's
And what's
bullshit.
Clyde's voice? What's your Clyde's voice?
Oh, okay, guys. Yeah. So I'm gonna get through this fence and I'm just gonna
Can I tend the
go.
rabbits, George?
Yeah. So
Sounds
yeah,
like
that's
Lenny.
but all that to say, Clyde probably just bowled right through it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a bull, and then Bonnie's probably just sitting there going, "This is bullshit. I'm not going out there. Okay, fine, I'll go out there. You open the door, I'm going out there. Fine."
I didn't want to though.
Right, exactly.
Funny.
So that's their personality.
I love that you guys have voices for them and different
Oh yeah, we have
voices,
full
too.
conversations. It's
We
fantastic.
never had 2 dogs at once. So Lisa and she'll admit it, she starts the whole voice thing. And so, yeah, she comes up with voices for all our dogs and I end up adapting them, of course.
So
Because
what's Indy's
why wouldn't
voice?
you? He's a good boy. I don't know. I'd have to have Lisa do it. Because I can't off the top of my
That'll
head.
be during the next podcast. Lisa will be doing
We'll
Indy's
bring her
voice.
in to do Indy's voice. And
We should have the dog. That's the next podcast. Just have the dogs up in front of the microphones, and then we just do their voices in the back.
We just do voiceovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of Bonnie going, "This is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit." Because that is honestly if I look at Clyde like a dad does, you give him that dad look, and just that I'm disappointed in you look. His tail goes between his legs, his head goes down, and he just kind of sits there. Bonnie, you could yell and scream at her, and she's go, "Yeah, so what are you gonna do about it? Bring it on."
Well, you can tell she's the female.
Yeah.
Because that's what my wife does. Yeah. When I give her that look, she's
That look,
yeah, now what?
yeah.
What do you got?
Yep.
And that's my Lisa voice.
Bring it.
But what do you got? Yeah.
It's a good voice.
No,
Very
it's
deep, though.
It is. It's very deep. Yes.
I won't tell her you said that. Hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast. Most people don't.
She hates it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, she often
get
does,
it.
and I enjoy that. Well, I was listening to the podcast, so just say it, matter of factly, and I'm going, "Oh, you listened," and then I think instantly, "Uh-oh, what did I say?
I say anything? What did I say?" I'm not in the doghouse yet. I'm not sleeping on the couch yet.
She wouldn't have listened to the whole thing, because I always say the weird, stupid husband things at the end.
Like right now.
Like now is the time.
Right, exactly. And speaking of, I'm getting the I'm going to call it the look, but it's via text. So she's like, "Where are you? Why aren't we need to get this done." So I think I'm going to have to wrap this up so I can go paint. Get to paint. I get to go paint. I wish
I had California planes and I were in Nashville. I could go help.
Yeah. Don't you fucking dare. You're going to have Florida plates here soon enough.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not soon.
Apparently, according to the news, I'm going to die of COVID even before as I cross over the state.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's another COVID explosion in Florida because DeSantis is an idiot.
Yeah. We're getting that here too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's always something. But anyway, yes. No COVID in this household. Knock on something. Fake wood.
Knock on something. Again. No COVID again.
Again in this house. Yeah. So
yeah.
Is what it is.
We'll have to talk about the conversation, because very interesting conversations in East Tennessee about that. So we'll save that for the next. That's the hook for the next episode.
That sounds really good. If anything will get them to come back, it's hearing what Craig has to say about
COVID.
COVID. I can't wait. I'll come back for that. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I've got some stories about my trip to Dallas too, when it comes to COVID and riding on the airplane and stuff. So that'll be an interesting episode. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are all looking forward to it.
Yeah. When you say riding on the airplane, I'm
riding on the outside.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to the antenna on top.
Okay. Do they have saddles?
Well, yeah, some of them
Yeah.
look like it because they have that big Wi-Fi dish at the top and the back.
Especially going to Texas, you would think
Right.
they'd have a sound.
Right. I've actually got some really good stories. There was a woman on the plane with me who is technically one of my neighbors, not in my community, in my neighborhood, but in my little pocket in Nashville. And knew the studio, knew all the dancers because she was a teacher for 30 years at the school where the former owner still teaches.
Yeah.
And so, it was interesting. It was an interesting ride. I never got to my book or my television shows because she was talking the entire time.
And sometimes that's good and not good. And
right.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. She was a great lady. And then she was on my return flight. So we didn't sit together though.
Yeah.
It was just kind of odd to see her because both flights were odd timing during the week. And it was just interesting that we were on it at the same time.
Cool.
So
very cool.
Anyway, Jon, I hope you have a good rest of your day today and a great week. Hopefully it starts out very, very well and you get a lot accomplished.
Thank you,
I wish upon all of our listeners.
We do.
Have a
and watchers,
week.
viewers too.
Viewers. I can't forget about the viewers. Yes. Hopefully, all three of them.
I think all three are delighted to know that they get to see us.
I'm sure.
We're podcasting.
Yep. I would agree. So anyway, all that to say, we're out, guys. See ya.